Welcome to another powerful episode on the Stoic Philosophy. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and join our community of individuals dedicated to mastering the art of living. Today, we'll dive deep into a timeless topic, one that lies at the core of Stoic teachings and is essential to achieving emotional resilience: the power of perspective. What's amazing about Stoicism is its ability to transform your mindset and, in turn, transform your life. The way we perceive the world determines how we experience it. Whether we face challenges, setbacks, or difficult people, our perspective shapes how we respond to them. So let's ask ourselves a question. How do you see the world? Are you controlled by your emotions, your circumstances, or the opinions of others? Or are you the one in charge of how you interpret and react to what happens in your life? In this video, we'll explore how perspective is the lens through which you see everything around you. By mastering this lens, you can ensure that nothing shakes you, no matter what life throws your way. Stay tuned, and let's begin this journey together. Chapter 1. The Power of Perspective. How to see things clearly. Perspective shapes everything. How we see the world determines how we experience it. If we view challenges as insurmountable obstacles, they will become so. But if we view them as opportunities for growth, they become tools for our personal development. In Stoic philosophy, perspective is not just about seeing what is in front of us. It is about shaping our mind to react to the world in a way that empowers us. The Stoics believed that our perception of events is what truly affects us, not the events themselves. The key to staying untouchable, then, is to master the art of perspective. Control your lens. Imagine wearing glasses that tint everything you see, casting a shadow over every experience. The way we choose to interpret the world is like those glasses. If we constantly choose to see negativity, suffering, or failure, that becomes the reality we live in. But by intentionally shifting our perspective, we can choose to focus on the positives, the lessons, and the opportunities. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, often reminded himself that the external world cannot harm him unless he allows it. His power came from within, from his ability to control how he perceived the world around him. Change your internal dialogue. The conversations we have with ourselves play a significant role in how we perceive the world. If we tell ourselves that we are victims of circumstances, that life is unfair, or that challenges are too great to overcome, we reinforce a negative lens. But by shifting that internal dialogue to one of empowerment and resilience, we can transform our perspective. For example, when faced with adversity, a Stoic mindset would ask, "What can I learn from this? How can I grow from this challenge?" This reframes the situation, turning obstacles into stepping stones. Practice the art of seeing beyond the surface. Our natural inclination is often to react to external circumstances with immediate emotion. When something goes wrong, we feel anger, frustration, or disappointment. But Stoicism teaches us to take a step back and examine the bigger picture. What is the deeper lesson? What is the value in this moment that might not be immediately apparent? By stepping back and seeing things clearly, we stop letting our emotions dictate our responses. We create space between the stimulus, what happens, and the response, how we choose to react. This space is where the power of perspective lies. Perspective as a tool for freedom. The true power of perspective is that it frees us It gives us the freedom to choose how we respond to anything that happens in our lives. Think about the situations where you felt overwhelmed or stressed. Often, it wasn't the event itself that caused the distress. It was how you perceived it. The Stoics believe that external events do not control us, our responses do. This principle is liberating because it means that no matter what happens, we always have the power to choose how we perceive it and how we respond to it. This freedom is the foundation of emotional mastery. Shift from reactive to proactive. Being reactive is being controlled by external events, letting them dictate your emotional state. On the other hand, being proactive means choosing how to respond regardless of the situation. It's not about ignoring the emotions you feel. It's about understanding that they are not permanent. By training yourself to notice when you are reacting and instead choosing to respond with awareness, you begin to master your perspective. Over time, this shifts your mindset from being a victim of circumstances to being the creator of your own experience. The power of gratitude in perspective. A key Stoic practice for cultivating a positive perspective is the daily practice of gratitude. It's easy to focus on what is going wrong in life. But by focusing on what we are grateful for, we shift our focus to the abundance that already exists. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or challenges, but it means acknowledging that there is always something to be thankful for, even in the toughest of times. Gratitude not only enhances our perspective, but also improves our emotional state, creating a foundation for resilience. Closing thoughts on perspective. In this chapter, we've explored how perspective is the lens through which we see the world. To remain untouchable, we must take control of this lens and choose to see things clearly. This doesn't mean that life will always be easy or that we won't face hardships, but it means that we can decide how we approach these challenges. With practice, we can train ourselves to shift from a negative to a positive perspective, to react thoughtfully rather than impulsively, and to see the deeper lessons in every situation. As you move forward in life, remember that the power of perspective is always in your hands. Choose wisely. Chapter 2. Embrace what you can control. Let go of the rest. One of the most liberating aspects of Stoicism is the understanding that we cannot control everything in life. In fact, there is so much beyond our influence. Other people's actions, the past, the future, the weather, the stock market. Yet, we often find ourselves fighting against these uncontrollable forces, causing unnecessary stress and frustration. The Stoic practice of focus. The key lesson here is to focus only on what is within your control and to let go of the rest. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, repeatedly reminded himself of this fundamental truth. He practiced focusing his attention solely on his own thoughts, actions, and responses. If you truly embrace this mindset, you will begin to notice a dramatic shift in your emotional and mental well-being. What can you control? In every situation, ask yourself this question: what can I control here? The answer is often simpler than we think. You control your thoughts, your attitude, your responses, and the decisions you make in each moment. The people around you, the events unfolding in the world, and the outcomes that are not a result of your actions are outside of your realm of control. By focusing on what you can do, what you can change, you immediately regain power. Letting go of the uncontrollable. It's natural to feel anxious about things that are beyond our control. We often get caught up in the what-ifs of life, worrying about things that might never even happen. But the Stoics teach us that the more we try to control things that we cannot, the more we suffer. The key to true peace is in acceptance. You must come to terms with the reality that there are forces beyond your influence, and instead of resisting them, you must let them go. Imagine you are standing in a storm. The wind is howling, the rain is pouring, and the trees are swaying violently. Now, picture yourself trying to control the wind or stop the rain from falling. It's impossible. Yet so many of us waste our energy trying to fight against life's storms, rather than accepting that the storm will pass in its own time. The power comes from choosing how to respond in the storm, not from trying to change the storm itself. The freedom in acceptance. This doesn't mean we should live passively, allowing things to happen to us without any effort. Far from it. It simply means that we should invest our energy where it truly matters, on the things we can control, and stop wasting our precious time on the things we cannot. You have the power to choose your attitude, how you respond to others, and how you face life's challenges. By embracing this, you free yourself from unnecessary frustration and mental turmoil. Think of it like this. When you stop trying to control things outside of your realm, you can focus more fully on making a meaningful impact in the areas you can influence. This sense of clarity and focus will empower you to act with purpose and precision, rather than reacting impulsively to everything that comes your way. How this applies to daily life. In practice, this Stoic principle can transform your daily interactions and decisions. When someone cuts you off in traffic, you can choose to be angry, or you can choose to accept the situation and let it go. When a colleague challenges your ideas at work, you can choose to defend your ego or calmly express your thoughts without becoming defensive. When life throws curveballs your way, whether it's a missed opportunity, a relationship issue, or a health scare, you can choose to focus on what you can do in the present moment to address the situation, and then let go of the things beyond your control. This doesn't mean you should never strive for success or work toward your goals. It simply means that your peace of mind doesn't have to depend on outcomes that are out of your hands. It means recognizing that your true power lies in how you choose to respond, rather than in the external circumstances. Letting go leads to peace. The beauty of this Stoic principle is that the more you practice it, the more peace you will find. By letting go of the uncontrollable, you give yourself the space to truly enjoy life and to act with intention and purpose. This allows you to be fully present, without the weight of worry and stress clouding your judgment. In conclusion, the Stoic practice of embracing what you can control and letting go of the rest is a profound tool for personal freedom. By focusing on what you can influence, your thoughts, actions, and reactions, you will experience greater peace and less anxiety. So, take a step back and ask yourself, what can I control? Let go of the things beyond your reach and redirect your energy where it truly matters. This simple yet powerful practice will lead to a life that is not only more peaceful, but also more empowered. Chapter 3. The Art of Self-Discipline, Mastering Your Actions. Self-discipline is often considered one of the most challenging yet rewarding virtues to cultivate. It's the cornerstone of personal growth and the foundation of a life well lived. Without it, our goals remain distant and our best intentions fall short. The Stoics understood this well. They knew that mastering our actions especially in the face of challenges, is the true test of character. The nature of self-discipline. Self-discipline is not about suppressing desire or following rigid rules. Rather, it's about aligning our actions with our values, making decisions that serve our greater purpose, and maintaining focus when distractions tempt us. It's about choosing what's right, not what's easy. This is the essence of self-mastery, the ability to govern ourselves, regardless of external circumstances. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on the importance of controlling our actions. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The Stoics understood that we cannot control the world around us, but we can control how we respond to it. This is the first step in mastering self-discipline, recognizing that we have the power to choose our actions, even in the face of adversity. The role of intentionality. Self-discipline starts with intentionality. When you are clear about your goals and purpose, it becomes easier to align your actions with those aspirations. The Stoics believed in the importance of reflection, ensuring that every decision was made with thoughtfulness and purpose. They didn't act impulsively. Rather, they took the time to assess their thoughts, emotions, and desires before making a choice. This thoughtful approach enabled them to act in line with their values, rather than being swept away by momentary impulses. Every action should be a conscious decision that aligns with your core beliefs. Without this intentionality, we are at the mercy of our emotions, whims, and external influences. When we set a clear intention, we empower ourselves to say no to distractions and yes to the actions that truly matter. This is the practice of deliberate living, where every action is a step toward the person you want to become. The importance of routine. Self-discipline flourishes in the presence of routine. The Stoics understood that consistency is key to mastering oneself. This doesn't mean rigidly scheduling every moment of your day, but rather cultivating daily habits that reinforce your goals and values. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, believed in the power of discipline through habit. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Routine helps us avoid the mental fatigue that comes with decision-making. By establishing good habits, we reduce the need for constant willpower. For example, if you want to exercise regularly, don't wait for motivation to strike. Instead, make it a non-negotiable part of your day. When you've ingrained good habits into your routine, they require less mental effort to execute. They become second nature. Managing temptations and distractions. One of the greatest tests of self-discipline is resisting temptations. In our fast-paced world, distractions are everywhere. The desire for instant gratification can easily pull us off course. Whether it's scrolling through social media when we should be working, indulging in unhealthy food, or procrastinating on important tasks, we all face temptations that derail us from our goals. The Stoics were keenly aware of the dangers of such distractions. They didn't expect themselves to be perfect, but they were diligent in acknowledging when they were being led astray and in making corrections. The key is self-awareness, recognizing when our actions are not in alignment with our long-term goals. It's important to have strategies in place to combat these temptations. This might mean removing distractions altogether, setting boundaries, or finding healthier outlets for your impulses. Building mental toughness. Self-discipline is not just about resisting temptations. It's also about developing the mental toughness to push through discomfort. Whether it's physical training, difficult conversations, or moments of doubt, the ability to endure and persevere is at the heart of self-discipline. The Stoics believed in practicing discomfort voluntarily to strengthen their will. In modern life, this could mean embracing challenges that push you beyond your comfort zone. For example, taking on difficult projects, engaging in uncomfortable conversations, or working toward a goal even when the process is grueling. Each time you choose to push through discomfort, you build resilience and reinforce your self-discipline. The power of self-reflection. A key component of Stoic self-discipline is the practice of self-reflection. At the end of each day, Marcus Aurelius would reflect on his actions, thoughts, and emotions. He asked himself, "What did I do today? What could I have done better? Where did I lose my temper? Where did I succeed?" Self-reflection is vital for understanding where you succeeded and where you failed. By taking time to assess our actions, we learn valuable lessons that help us improve in the future. It allows us to recognize patterns in our behavior, identify areas for growth, and adjust our approach as needed. This process of constant improvement is what leads to true self-mastery. Self-discipline is the foundation of a life of purpose and integrity. It requires intentionality, routine, resilience, and constant self-reflection. The Stoics understood that by mastering our actions, we can shape our lives and our destinies. By practicing self-discipline, we gain the power to live according to our values, resist distractions, and create a life of meaning and fulfillment. Through conscious action and perseverance, we can become the masters of our own lives, just as the Stoics sought to do. Chapter 4. Understanding the role of emotions and how to use them. Emotions are often seen as obstacles to rational decision-making, as forces that cloud our judgment and pull us away from reason. The Stoics, however, saw emotions not as something to be feared or suppressed, but as natural responses to life's events that, when understood and properly managed, can be powerful tools for growth. By mastering our emotions, we don't lose our humanity. Rather, we harness our emotional energy to align more closely with our values and goals. The Stoic view of emotions. The Stoics believed that emotions arise from our judgments about external events. It's not the events themselves that make us angry, sad, or fearful, but our interpretations of those events. This distinction is key to understanding how emotions can be controlled and channeled effectively. As Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The Stoics understood that while we can't always control the events that happen to us, we can control how we interpret and respond to them. This view encourages us to step back and observe our emotional reactions, rather than immediately acting on them. When we feel anger rising or anxiety taking hold, we can take a moment to reflect and choose how to respond thoughtfully. By understanding that our emotional reactions are based on our thoughts, we regain power over them. Emotions as signals. Emotions are not inherently good or bad. They are signals, valuable information about our inner state and our environment. Fear, for example, can alert us to a real danger, but unchecked, it can lead to paralysis. Anger can be a sign that something is wrong, but if left unchecked, it can lead to rash decisions and hurt relationships. Joy can indicate alignment with our values, but if we become overly attached to it, we risk becoming dependent on external validation. By viewing emotions as signals, we can learn to interpret them more wisely. Instead of suppressing anger, we can ask ourselves, why am I angry? Is this anger justified? What can I do to address the cause of my frustration in a constructive way? This allows us to use emotions as tools for introspection and growth, rather than letting them control us. Using emotions as motivation. Emotions, when harnessed properly, can be powerful motivators. Stoic philosophers didn't reject emotions altogether. Instead, they sought to use them as energy for action. For instance, if we feel frustration with our current situation, that emotion can be used to fuel change. Instead of letting frustration drive us to despair, we can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this frustration? How can I take control and make progress? Likewise, if we experience joy or pride in an accomplishment, we can use those emotions to reinforce our commitment to our values. The Stoics believed in the importance of cultivating virtuous emotions, emotions that are aligned with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These positive emotions can propel us toward our higher goals and serve as reminders of what truly matters. The discipline of emotion. The Stoics recognized that emotions can be overwhelming, especially when we allow them to dictate our actions. To master our emotions, they taught the importance of self-discipline. This discipline is not about repressing emotions, but rather about controlling how we express them. For example, if we feel anger, we can discipline ourselves to pause, take a deep breath, and choose a response that is measured and thoughtful rather than reactive. This practice of emotional discipline requires constant vigilance. It's about cultivating the ability to pause before reacting, to consider our responses carefully, and to choose actions that reflect our values. It also involves learning to detach from the fleeting nature of emotions. By acknowledging that emotions are temporary and do not define us, we free ourselves from being controlled by them. The role of reflection and rationality. Emotions can often cloud our judgment, making it difficult to think clearly. The Stoics understood the importance of reflection and rationality in managing emotions. They believed that by taking time to reflect on our emotions, we could prevent them from overtaking our reason. In moments of emotional turmoil, the Stoics would pause and remind themselves that their emotions were simply natural reactions to external events, not ultimate truths. Seneca, in his letters, advised that we should reflect on our emotions regularly. It is not the emotion that harms us, but the lack of judgment. Reflection allows us to separate our initial emotional response from the rational thought that follows. It gives us the space to make decisions based on reason, rather than acting impulsively on emotion alone. Transforming negative emotions. While emotions like anger, fear, and sadness are natural, the Stoics believed that they should not control us. Instead, we can transform these emotions into opportunities for growth. When we experience negative emotions, we can ask ourselves what they can teach us. For instance, when we feel fear, we can question its validity and assess whether it's based on a real threat or simply our imagination. When we feel anger, we can use it as a prompt to examine our values and determine if our reaction is proportionate to the situation. The Stoics believed that negative emotions could be redirected into positive actions. Instead of allowing them to cause harm or lead to poor decisions, we can turn them into opportunities to practice patience, resilience, and virtue. By doing so, we not only master our emotions, but also strengthen our character. Understanding the role of emotions and how to use them is a vital part of Stoic practice. Emotions are not enemies. They are part of the human experience, offering us insights into ourselves and the world around us. The Stoics taught us that by mastering our emotional responses, we regain control of our actions and our lives. Instead of being slaves to our emotions, we become their masters, using them as tools for personal growth and fulfillment. By reflecting on our emotions, using them as motivation, and practicing emotional discipline, we can achieve a balanced and harmonious life, guided by reason and virtue. Chapter 5. Practicing Detachment. Free yourself from external validation. In a world where external approval often dictates our sense of worth, practicing detachment is an essential tool for cultivating inner peace and true self-reliance. The Stoics believed that the key to lasting happiness lies not in seeking validation from others, but in liberating ourselves from the need for it. By learning to detach from the approval of the outside world, we free ourselves from the constraints that limit our potential. The trap of external validation. From a young age, we are taught to seek approval from those around us, our parents, peers, teachers, and society at large. We learn to measure our success by external standards, whether it's the praise we receive, the recognition we earn, or the material possessions we acquire. This external validation becomes a powerful force that shapes our identity, often leaving us feeling insecure and dependent on others for a sense of worth. The Stoics understood the danger of this dependence. They taught that placing our happiness in the hands of others is like handing over the reins to someone else. We lose our autonomy, and in doing so, we surrender our ability to control our own well-being. Instead of focusing on what others think of us, the Stoics emphasized the importance of looking inward and finding validation in our own actions and virtues. Understanding the power of detachment. Detachment is not about withdrawing from the world or becoming indifferent to others. It's about freeing ourselves from the emotional attachment to external outcomes. When we practice detachment, we stop defining ourselves by the praise or criticism of others. We learn to stand firm in our values and principles, independent of external influences. This doesn't mean we reject feedback or constructive criticism. Rather, we become selective in what we allow to shape our self-worth. By practicing detachment, we develop the ability to focus on what truly matters: our actions, character, and internal growth. We no longer tie our happiness to fleeting external events or people's opinions. Instead, we place our sense of fulfillment in things we can control, such as how we choose to act, how we respond to challenges, and how we live according to our principles. The Stoic practice of indifference to external praise. The Stoic philosophers taught that we should strive to remain indifferent to both praise and blame. While praise might feel good in the moment, it is temporary and often superficial. Seeking praise can lead us to make choices based on what others want from us, rather than what we believe is right. Similarly, the fear of criticism can paralyze us, preventing us from acting authentically and living in alignment with our values. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, advised that we should not let praise dictate our actions. He said, "It is not that we are given to the praise of others, but that we can stand firm and remain steady regardless of what they say." In practicing indifference to praise, we learn to base our self-worth on our virtues and integrity, not on external recognition. Building self-validation through virtue. The Stoics believed that the only true source of validation comes from within. By living virtuously, pursuing wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we build a foundation of self-respect and confidence that is not easily shaken by external forces. When we align our actions with our values, we can look at ourselves in the mirror and feel proud of who we are, independent of what others think. Self-validation doesn't mean being arrogant or self-centered. Rather, it is about cultivating an inner sense of fulfillment that doesn't rely on the approval of others. The Stoics practiced self-reflection to assess whether their actions aligned with their values, and in doing so, they found peace and satisfaction from within. They understood that the only person who truly knows our intentions and efforts is ourselves. Detachment from the need for success and failure. The Stoic practice of detachment extends beyond praise and criticism to include success and failure. We live in a culture that places tremendous value on success and achievement. Success often brings accolades, financial gain, and social status, while failure brings shame, disappointment, and fear. However, the Stoics taught that both success and failure are outside of our control and should not be the defining factors of our lives. Instead of placing our sense of worth in external markers of success, the Stoics encouraged us to focus on the process rather than the outcome. We are not defined by how much we achieve, but by how we approach our goals with integrity, perseverance, and virtue. By detaching from the need for success and embracing the journey, we free ourselves from the pressure to conform to societal expectations and instead find fulfillment in the effort itself. Living without external approval. The true freedom that comes from detachment is the ability to live authentically, regardless of what others think. We no longer seek validation from our peers, social media followers, or even our closest family and friends. Instead, we become the architects of our own happiness, finding joy in living according to our values and principles. This doesn't mean we become dismissive of others or cut ourselves off from social connections. It means that we no longer allow external validation to control our emotions or actions. We live for ourselves, not for the approval of others. When we practice detachment, we learn to embrace our unique path, knowing that our worth is inherent and does not depend on external forces. The freedom of detachment. Practicing detachment is a powerful tool for freeing ourselves from the need for external validation. By letting go of the need for praise, success, and approval, we cultivate inner peace and true self-reliance. The Stoics taught that the key to happiness is not in seeking external recognition, but in living virtuously, aligning our actions with our values, and finding validation from within. When we detach ourselves from the approval of others, we reclaim our autonomy and unlock the freedom to live authentically and meaningfully. Chapter 6. Building Resilience. Bouncing back from adversity. Adversity is inevitable. Life has a way of throwing unexpected challenges at us. Whether it's personal loss, financial struggles, or difficult circumstances beyond our control, we all face hardship at some point. The question is not whether adversity will strike, but how we respond to it. The Stoics taught us that resilience, the ability to bounce back from difficult situations, is a crucial trait that we can develop, and in doing so, we gain true strength and peace. The nature of adversity. Adversity is a part of life, and it often comes when we least expect it. The Stoics believed that hardship is not something to be feared, but something to be accepted as a natural part of the human experience. In fact, they argued that adversity is not inherently negative. It's how we perceive it and how we choose to respond that defines its impact on us. In life, nothing is permanent, not even our pain. This understanding is essential in cultivating resilience. When we view hardship as temporary and part of a greater journey, we are more likely to persevere. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In this sense, adversity can become a valuable teacher, helping us to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. The power of acceptance. One of the Stoic principles that help in building resilience is the practice of acceptance. Accepting adversity doesn't mean giving up or resigning ourselves to fate. It means acknowledging that challenges are beyond our control. When we accept that we cannot control external circumstances, we stop fighting against reality and start focusing on how we can respond in a constructive way. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is a powerful reminder that obstacles are not roadblocks. They are opportunities for growth. By accepting the challenge, we are no longer victims of it. Instead, we have the power to turn it into something positive, something that helps us move forward rather than holding us back. Resilience is a skill, not an innate trait. The Stoics viewed resilience as a skill that could be developed through practice. Much like building physical strength in the gym, building emotional strength requires consistent effort. The more we train ourselves to handle adversity, the more resilient we become. This doesn't mean that we won't face difficulties, but rather that we'll develop the ability to withstand them with grace, patience, and a clear mind. Resilience is built when we take control over our emotional responses. Instead of being swept away by our emotions in the face of adversity, we can choose to pause, reflect, and act with purpose. It's in those moments of difficulty that we have the greatest opportunity to exercise our inner strength. By choosing to remain calm, accepting, and proactive, we transform challenges into stepping stones toward greater resilience. Building mental toughness. Another key Stoic practice for building resilience is developing mental toughness. Mental toughness isn't about ignoring pain or pretending that challenges don't affect us. It's about learning how to endure discomfort and hardship without allowing it to break us. The Stoics taught that our minds are powerful, and it's through discipline and focus that we can master them. To build mental toughness, we must embrace discomfort. This means putting ourselves in situations that challenge us, physically, emotionally, or mentally. It's about becoming comfortable with discomfort. The Stoics were not afraid of difficulty. They believed that by voluntarily exposing themselves to challenging experiences, they could fortify their minds and spirits for future adversity. Focusing on what you can control. One of the central tenets of Stoic philosophy is to focus on what you can control and let go of what you cannot. In times of adversity, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by all the factors outside of our control, whether it's the actions of others, unexpected events, or circumstances that seem unfair. The Stoics taught that our power lies in how we respond to those situations. By focusing on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, and our attitudes, we take back our power. Instead of becoming consumed by frustration, anger, or helplessness, we choose to respond in a way that aligns with our values and principles. This shift in focus not only makes us more resilient, but also provides us with a sense of purpose and agency, even in the most difficult of times. Turning adversity into a source of strength. Resilience is not just about surviving adversity. It's about transforming it into a source of strength. Every challenge we face has the potential to teach us something valuable. The Stoics understood that adversity can sharpen our character, deepen our understanding of ourselves, and even increase our empathy for others. The very trials we endure are the experiences that make us wiser, more compassionate, and more capable. Each time we bounce back from a difficult situation, we add another layer of resilience to our character. Over time, we learn to see challenges not as burdens, but as opportunities for growth. As Seneca once said, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. The more we face adversity, the stronger we become. And this strength is what allows us to navigate life's challenges with unwavering confidence. Embracing resilience as a way of life. Building resilience is not an overnight process, nor is it something we achieve once and for all. It is a lifelong journey that requires constant practice, self-reflection, and a commitment to living in accordance with Stoic principles. By accepting adversity, focusing on what we can control, and developing mental toughness, we cultivate the resilience necessary to bounce back from life's challenges. The Stoics understood that life is full of both triumphs and tribulations, and it's our ability to rise above adversity that defines us. Resilience is not about avoiding hardship, it's about embracing it, learning from it, and using it to become a stronger, wiser version of ourselves. By building resilience, we gain the strength to face whatever comes our way, knowing that we are capable of overcoming anything that stands in our path. Chapter 7. Living according to virtue. The Stoic approach to morality. Morality is at the heart of the Stoic philosophy. For the Stoics, living a virtuous life was not just a lofty ideal, but a practical guide for daily living. Virtue was seen as the highest good, the foundation upon which everything else in life should rest. The Stoics believed that to live in accordance with virtue was the key to achieving a peaceful and fulfilling life. But what exactly does this mean, and how can we apply it to our own lives? Virtue as the highest good. In Stoic thought, virtue is the only true good. It is the one thing that cannot be taken away from us, no matter the external circumstances. Unlike wealth, fame, or pleasure, virtue is within our control, and it is the only thing that is truly valuable. The Stoics defined virtue as living in harmony with nature, which includes acting in accordance with reason and understanding our place in the world. For the Stoics, virtue is not just about moral actions, it is about character. A virtuous person is someone who consistently acts with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These four cardinal virtues form the core of Stoic ethics. Each virtue serves as a guide for how to live a life of integrity and purpose. A wise person knows what is truly important and makes decisions accordingly. A courageous person faces challenges with strength and resolve. A just person treats others with fairness and respect. A temperate person practices moderation in all things. The Stoic view of morality. The Stoic approach to morality is distinct from many traditional ethical systems in that it emphasizes internal rather than external factors. In other words, a Stoic does not judge their life based on external events or the opinions of others. Instead, they focus on their internal character and their ability to respond to life's challenges with virtue. The Stoics believed that external circumstances such as wealth, status, or physical pleasure are not inherently good or bad. What matters is how we respond to them. For example, Wealth is not bad in itself, but it can lead to corruption or excess if we become attached to it. Similarly, hardship is not necessarily bad, but it provides an opportunity to practice virtues such as courage and perseverance. Living according to nature. One of the key principles in Stoic philosophy is the idea of living in accordance with nature. To the Stoics, nature represents the rational order of the universe, and our goal is to align our actions with that order. This means recognizing the interconnectedness of all things and understanding that we are part of something larger than ourselves. By living according to nature, we embrace the virtues that lead to a good life. Living according to nature also means accepting the things we cannot change. The Stoics taught that we should not waste our energy resisting fate or trying to control the uncontrollable. Instead, we should focus on cultivating virtue, which is within our control. By accepting the natural course of events and responding to them with virtue, we achieve peace of mind and fulfillment. The role of reason in Stoic morality. Reason is at the core of Stoic virtue. The Stoics believe that human beings are endowed with reason, which allows us to distinguish right from wrong and to make moral decisions. Reason for the Stoics is not just about intellectual understanding. It is about using our rational faculties to align our actions with virtue. The Stoics taught that by exercising our reason, we can overcome the impulses of our emotions and desires. For example, when we feel anger, we can use reason to step back, reflect, and choose a more virtuous response, such as patience or forgiveness. Reason allows us to rise above the tumult of our emotions and act in accordance with our higher nature. Virtue and happiness. For the Stoics, happiness is not found in external possessions or achievements, but in living a virtuous life. This may seem counterintuitive in a world where success is often measured by wealth, fame, or pleasure. However, the Stoics believed that true happiness comes from within. It is the result of cultivating virtue and living in accordance with our rational nature. By living virtuously, we find fulfillment because we are living in alignment with our true purpose. Virtue leads to inner peace, and inner peace is the foundation of happiness. The Stoics argued that when we focus on virtue rather than external rewards, we free ourselves from the pursuit of fleeting pleasures and external validation. We become self-sufficient and find contentment in the pursuit of wisdom and moral excellence. Living with integrity. Integrity is a cornerstone of Stoic morality. To live with integrity means to act consistently with our values, even when it is difficult. It means doing the right thing, even when no one is watching, and choosing virtue over convenience or expedience. For the Stoics, integrity was not just about avoiding immoral actions. It was about consistently striving to live a life of moral excellence. When we live with integrity, we are not swayed by the opinions of others or by the temptation to act out of selfishness or fear. We are guided by our reason and our commitment to virtue, and this gives us the strength to face adversity with dignity and honor. Integrity provides a strong foundation for living a life of meaning and purpose. Conclusion. The Stoic path to moral fulfillment. Living according to virtue is not always easy. It requires discipline, self-reflection, and a commitment to living with purpose. However, the Stoics taught that this is the path to true fulfillment. By cultivating wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we align ourselves with the natural order of the universe and live a life that is in harmony with our true nature. The Stoic approach to morality offers a guide for living a life of integrity, purpose, and meaning. It teaches us that true happiness comes not from external circumstances, but from living virtuously and in accordance with our reason. By embracing the Stoic virtues, we can cultivate a life that is not only morally fulfilling but also peaceful and content. Chapter 8. Accepting impermanence, letting go of attachments. Life is a constant ebb and flow. Everything around us is changing, and we too are part of that change. The Stoic philosophy teaches us to embrace this natural impermanence, to recognize the transient nature of life, and to let go of the attachments that bind us. It is through accepting impermanence that we can truly live a peaceful and fulfilling life. Understanding impermanence. Impermanence is a fundamental truth of existence. All things, whether objects, relationships, or even our emotions, are temporary. Nothing lasts forever. The Stoics understood this deeply, and they saw it as a key principle in the pursuit of tranquility. By accepting that everything is fleeting, we free ourselves from the burden of attachment and expectation. When we resist the impermanent nature of life, we set ourselves up for disappointment and frustration. We may cling to the idea that things should stay the same, or that our possessions, relationships, or experiences will never change. But the Stoics remind us that this is a futile endeavor. The more we resist impermanence, the more we suffer. Instead, the Stoics urge us to embrace change as a natural part of life, and in doing so, we can cultivate resilience and inner peace. The dangers of attachment. Attachment to things or people is a common human experience. We naturally form bonds with those we love, with possessions that bring us comfort, and with the ideas or goals we pursue. However, attachment can be a double-edged sword. When we become overly attached to something, we make ourselves vulnerable to suffering. Attachment leads to anxiety and fear of loss. We fear losing the things we hold dear, whether that's a relationship, a material possession, or a particular phase of our lives. When we attach our happiness to something that is inherently unstable, we risk losing that sense of peace. For example, when we place our worth in our job, we become fearful of failure or losing our position. Similarly, in relationships, we may fear rejection or abandonment. This fear only grows stronger as we hold on to our attachments more tightly. The Stoics teach us that true freedom comes from letting go of these attachments. By recognizing that nothing is permanent, we can learn to enjoy what we have in the present without clinging to it. This does not mean we stop caring about people or things, but rather that we care without letting our sense of self-worth be tied to them. By embracing this perspective, we open ourselves to living with greater peace and flexibility. The practice of detachment. Detachment does not mean indifference or apathy. It means freeing ourselves from the need to control or possess everything around us. The Stoics taught that detachment is a practice of focusing on what we can control, our actions, thoughts, and responses, and letting go of the rest. One way to practice detachment is through mindfulness. When we become aware of our attachments, we can begin to examine them. Why are we attached to this person, this outcome, or this object? Are we attaching our happiness to something that is fleeting? By bringing awareness to our attachments, we can make conscious choices about where we invest our energy and emotions. Another Stoic technique is to practice negative visualization. This involves imagining the loss of what we value most. While this might sound morbid, it helps us prepare for the inevitable changes that life will bring. By mentally rehearsing the loss of something we care about, we come to appreciate it more deeply in the present. It also reduces the shock and distress when change or loss does occur. Living in the present moment. One of the best ways to let go of attachments is to focus on the present moment. The Stoics remind us that the only time we truly have is now. When we are too focused on the past or the future, we miss the beauty and richness of the present moment. By letting go of the need to hold on to the past or obsess over the future, we can fully experience life as it is, without the weight of our attachments. The present moment is where we can find peace, and it is where we can practice the virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. In the present moment, we can choose to act with integrity and mindfulness, free from the burden of clinging to outcomes or expectations. The serenity of acceptance. Acceptance is a powerful Stoic practice. Accepting the impermanence of life does not mean resigning ourselves to despair or passivity. Rather, it means acknowledging that change is inevitable and learning to respond to it with grace. When we accept the impermanence of life, we can let go of the need to control everything and instead focus on what we can control: our actions, attitudes, and responses. This acceptance leads to serenity. By no longer fighting against the natural flow of life, we cultivate a deep sense of peace. We become less reactive to the ups and downs that life brings. When we experience loss, we can grieve, but we do not let it define us or take away our sense of inner calm. When we encounter change, we adapt with flexibility, knowing that change is part of life's cycle. Embracing freedom through letting go. Ultimately, accepting impermanence and letting go of attachments leads to greater freedom. Freedom is not just about physical or material independence, it is about emotional freedom. When we are no longer tied to specific outcomes or possessions, we free ourselves from anxiety, disappointment, and fear. We can face the uncertainties of life with confidence, knowing that we are not dependent on external circumstances for our happiness or peace of mind. Letting go allows us to live more fully. We can engage more deeply with the present, appreciate the people and experiences that come our way, and respond to life's challenges with wisdom and strength. By accepting impermanence, we free ourselves from the cycle of craving and fear, and we open ourselves to a life of greater fulfillment and peace. In the end, the Stoic practice of accepting impermanence teaches us that the only constant in life is change. By embracing this truth and letting go of attachments, we become free to live fully in the moment and to face whatever comes with equanimity. Chapter 9. The Wisdom of Silence. Speaking less, observing more. In a world that is constantly noisy, the ability to embrace silence is a rare and powerful skill. The Stoics, in their infinite wisdom, understood the value of silence. They believed that speaking less and observing more could lead to deeper understanding, greater self-control, and a more harmonious life. In this chapter, we will explore the power of silence and why it is a crucial Stoic practice. The value of silence. Silence is not just the absence of sound. It is a state of mindful stillness that allows us to connect more deeply with ourselves and the world around us. The Stoics believed that silence gives us the space to reflect, to process our thoughts, and to respond more wisely to the situations we face. In a culture where constant communication and social interaction are the norms, silence becomes a tool for self-mastery. When we speak less, we not only save our energy and time, but also prevent ourselves from engaging in idle chatter, gossip, or unnecessary arguments. Every word we speak carries weight, and the Stoics were cautious about the words they chose to utter. They understood that speaking without thought could lead to misunderstandings, conflict, or regret. By choosing silence over unnecessary conversation, we gain the opportunity to reflect and ensure that our words are meaningful and purposeful. Silence as a tool for observation. The Stoics encouraged us to observe the world around us with keen awareness. In silence, we are able to listen, not just to the words people say, but to the deeper meaning behind those words. We can observe the emotions, intentions, and actions of others, and through this, gain valuable insight into human behavior. When we observe without the need to immediately respond, we allow ourselves to process information more deeply. We gain clarity on the situation at hand, rather than rushing to form an opinion or react impulsively. Silence gives us the space to truly understand before we speak. By observing more, we learn more. We become more attuned to the nuances of life, allowing us to make more informed decisions and respond with wisdom. Mastering self-control through silence. Silence is a powerful tool for developing self-control. The Stoics believed that one of the keys to living a virtuous life was to exercise control over our impulses and desires. Speaking impulsively without thinking is often a result of unchecked emotions or the need for validation. By practicing silence, we create a buffer between our impulses and our actions. When we feel the urge to speak, especially in moments of anger, frustration, or excitement, silence allows us to pause and reflect. This pause helps us regain control over our emotions and prevents us from saying something we might regret later. By choosing silence, we demonstrate mastery over our emotions and avoid acting on impulse. The act of silencing our immediate responses also helps us build patience. Instead of rushing to offer our opinions or judgments, we allow time for the other person to speak, for the situation to unfold, and for our thoughts to settle. In this way, silence becomes an act of patience and emotional discipline. Silence in relationships. In relationships, silence is often a sign of respect and maturity. Sometimes the most meaningful communication happens not through words, but through the quiet understanding between two people. The Stoics taught that we should not feel compelled to fill every silence with words. Instead, we should allow for moments of stillness, where both parties can reflect and process their thoughts. By speaking less and listening more, we show respect for others' perspectives and create a space for more thoughtful dialogue. In conflict, silence can be a powerful tool for de-escalation. Instead of engaging in heated arguments, stepping back into silence can prevent further tension and allow for more rational thinking. Silence as a path to inner peace. In a world filled with distractions and noise, silence provides an opportunity for inner peace. When we step away from the constant chatter of social media, work, and even our own minds, we create space for stillness. In this stillness, we reconnect with our true selves and our core values. The Stoics believed that true peace comes from within, and silence is a pathway to that peace. By practicing silence regularly, we become more attuned to our inner thoughts and emotions. we develop a deeper understanding of our own desires, fears, and motivations. This self-awareness allows us to live more intentionally and in alignment with our values, rather than being swept away by the noise of the outside world. The strength of silence in difficult situations. Silence is particularly valuable in difficult or tense situations. When faced with conflict, stress, or adversity, our immediate instinct may be to react, to defend ourselves, to argue, or to explain. However, the Stoics understood that in such moments, silence often holds the greatest power. By choosing silence in difficult situations, we give ourselves the time and space to reflect on the best course of action. We prevent ourselves from being swept up in emotional reactions and instead respond from a place of calm and clarity. In times of adversity, silence allows us to maintain our composure and avoid making hasty decisions that could lead to regret. Silence in Stoic philosophy. The Stoics were not opposed to speaking altogether. In fact, they valued the power of well-chosen words. However, they recognized that silence is often more valuable than speaking. By practicing silence, we learn to distinguish between what needs to be said and what can be left unsaid. We develop the wisdom to recognize when silence is the most appropriate response and when words are necessary. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we speak." This simple yet profound advice encourages us to practice silence as a way of developing both wisdom and self-discipline. By speaking less, we create the space to observe, reflect, and choose our words with care. Embracing silence for a better life. In the end, silence is not just about refraining from speaking. It is about embracing a way of living that prioritizes observation, reflection, and self-control. The wisdom of silence teaches us to be more mindful, more present, and more intentional in our interactions with others and with ourselves. By speaking less and observing more, we gain a deeper understanding of the world and our place within it. We develop the strength to maintain our peace in the face of chaos and to act with clarity and purpose. Silence is not the absence of communication, but a more powerful form of communication that allows us to connect more deeply with life itself. Chapter 10. The Freedom of Acceptance. Peace through Understanding. What is acceptance is one of the most profound concepts in Stoic philosophy. It is not about passivity or resignation, but about recognizing reality for what it is and finding peace in that recognition. In this final chapter, we will explore the Stoic understanding of acceptance and how embracing reality can lead to true freedom and inner peace. The power of acceptance. Acceptance is the foundation of Stoic tranquility. It is the ability to look at the world, see it as it truly is, and find peace in that understanding. The Stoics believed that we cannot control the external events of life, what others do, what the world brings, or the challenges we face. However, we can control how we respond to these events. Acceptance allows us to release the resistance to things we cannot change and focus our energy on what we can control: our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. By accepting what is, we free ourselves from the struggle against reality. We stop fighting against the inevitable and start working with it. This shift in perspective is incredibly liberating. It is a form of emotional freedom where we are no longer bound by our attachments, expectations, or frustrations. Acceptance doesn't mean we stop caring or give up on improving our circumstances. Rather, it means we stop letting our emotions be dictated by things beyond our control. Understanding what is. The first step toward acceptance is understanding. The Stoics taught that we must understand reality in all its forms, what is in our power and what is not. This means recognizing that certain things are outside our control, such as other people's actions, the weather, or the course of events in the world. By clearly distinguishing between what we can influence and what we cannot, we can stop wasting energy on the latter and focus our efforts on the former. Understanding what is also involves seeing the impermanence of life. Everything we hold dear, our relationships, our achievements, our possessions, is temporary. By accepting the fleeting nature of life, we gain a deeper appreciation for the present moment and the things that truly matter. The Stoics believed that peace comes not from clinging to the temporary, but from embracing the transitory nature of existence and learning to live in harmony with it, releasing resistance. One of the greatest obstacles to peace is resistance. We often resist what we don't like, what we fear, or what we cannot control. This resistance causes unnecessary suffering. The Stoics understood that our emotional pain often arises from our refusal to accept things as they are. When we resist reality, we create a gap between what is and what we want it to be. This gap generates frustration, anxiety, and disappointment. To find peace, we must let go of this resistance. This doesn't mean we become passive or indifferent, but rather that we learn to accept the things we cannot change while taking deliberate action in the areas where we do have control. By releasing resistance, we open ourselves to the possibility of true inner peace. We stop struggling with the world and begin to move through it with calm and grace. The freedom in acceptance. Acceptance is not a sign of weakness. It is the ultimate strength. The Stoics recognized that the key to freedom lies in our ability to accept the world as it is, without being emotionally enslaved by it. When we accept what is, we release ourselves from the shackles of expectation and desire. We no longer depend on external circumstances for our happiness or peace of mind. This is the essence of Stoic freedom. The freedom of acceptance allows us to face life's challenges with equanimity. Whether it is personal failure, a difficult relationship, or an unexpected setback, we can meet these events with clarity and calm. We do not let them dictate our emotional state. Instead, we accept them as part of life's natural course and respond thoughtfully and purposefully. Living in harmony with nature. The Stoics believed that true peace comes from living in accordance with nature. Nature, in Stoic terms, refers to the natural order of the universe, the laws and patterns that govern all things. When we resist the flow of life, we are in conflict with nature. But when we accept life as it comes, understanding that it is part of a greater, interconnected whole, we align ourselves with the natural order. Living in harmony with nature means recognizing that everything happens for a reason, even if we don't always understand it. It is an acceptance of the unknown, a recognition that we cannot control everything, but we can trust in the wisdom of the universe. By letting go of the need to control every outcome, we find peace in the knowledge that we are part of something much greater than ourselves. The peace of detachment. Acceptance also involves detachment, not in the sense of indifference, but in the sense of not being overly attached to specific outcomes. The Stoics taught that we should not tie our happiness to any particular event or person, because all things are temporary and subject to change. Detachment frees us from the constant desire for more, the fear of losing what we have, and the frustration that comes with unfulfilled expectations. By practicing detachment, we learn to live fully in the present moment, appreciating life as it is, rather than as we wish it to be. We let go of the need to control or manipulate circumstances to fit our desires. Instead, we embrace life with all its ups and downs, trusting that we will find peace by accepting whatever comes our way. Finding peace through understanding. The Stoics believed that true peace comes from understanding the nature of the world and our place in it. When we understand that life is uncertain, that suffering is part of the human experience, and that change is inevitable, we can accept these facts with grace. By embracing reality, we remove the internal conflict that arises from wishing things were different. We find peace in accepting what is, rather than constantly striving for what could be. Acceptance is the key to unlocking inner peace. It is a practice that allows us to live in harmony with the world around us, free from the burden of resistance, expectation, and attachment. The Stoics teach us that peace is not something to be pursued, it is something to be accepted, and in this acceptance, we find the freedom to live fully, to embrace the present moment, and to navigate life with wisdom and tranquility. As we conclude this journey through the Stoic lessons on how to stay untouchable, remember that true peace and strength come from within. The Stoic philosophy isn't about escaping life's challenges or avoiding discomfort, but about mastering your mind, emotions, and responses. By embracing perspective, self-discipline, acceptance, and detachment, you can build a life that is resilient, calm, and unshakable, no matter what external forces may come your way. These 10 Stoic lessons are more than just philosophical ideas. They are practical tools for everyday living. Whether you're facing adversity, struggling with emotions, or simply seeking greater peace, these principles can help guide you toward a life of freedom and tranquility. Now it's up to you. Embrace these teachings, put them into practice, and watch how they transform your approach to life. When you master your mind, nothing can shake you. Thank you for watching, and remember, keep your mind calm, your actions virtuous, and your spirit unbreakable. Until next time, stay stoic.